Hello, today we're going to make cheese and apple scones, or scones depending on where you come from. Now, as usual, before we do anything, we make sure that we have washed our hands thoroughly and cleaned down the worktops that we're going to be using. So, in the mixing bowl, I have got 50 grams of butter and 200 grams of self-raising flour. I have grated 100 grams of cheese, cheddar cheese. We've got 2 to 3 tablespoonfuls of milk in the jug and 1 egg ready. Now over here, I am going to dice an apple. So I have already washed the apple. So bridge, pinch the knife, grip, point down, and you are going to cut through the apple. So now you have 2 halves. Always have the flat half towards the chopping board, because if we had the curved bit, it will wobble and that's dangerous. So now we're going to cut those in half again. So bridge, cut in half, and now we have 4 quarters. Now in that we have the core, so you can just about see a darker line there where the core is. Now that's a membrane that's very tough. We want to remove that. So how we do that, there's 2 ways. You can cut diagonally, always cutting down towards the chopping board to halfway through the apple, turn it over, cut down diagonally, and the core will pop out. I'll do that one more time. So you cut downwards, halfway, turn the apple around, cut halfway down diagonally again, and the core will pop out. Now if you don't feel confident in doing that, you can have your quarter sitting on the chopping board and just cut diagonally through and cut the core out that way. But you will end up taking a lot more apple. So we have got our 4 quarters of apple. Now we are going to, with a bridge, cut down into slices. Put those slices on top of each other, and then we're going to cut through those slices. So now we've got like sticks of apple. Let's just cut through that one again. And then claw. Now we have a claw so that the knife will slide down your fingers and not cut your fingers. So claw, and you're going to cut your apples again, and this way we have diced apple. Now I'm going to pop those onto a plate with a little bit of lemon juice. Now we're putting lemon juice on because that prevents enzymatic browning. Enzymatic browning is where your apple goes a horrible brown colour, and we really don't want that happening. So again, we cut down into slices, turn it around, cut down into slices again, turn it around, cut down into dice. Onto the plate, give it a little stir with the apple juice. We do this with all 4 quarters. So slices, turn it over, cut into slices, and then into your dice. Last one. Slice, turn, slice, turn it around, claw, cut into dice. So there we have our diced apple. Go back over to the scone mix. So in here is your butter and the flour. Now into the flour I am going to put 1/4 spoonful 1/4 to 1/2 teaspoonful of cayenne pepper. Now that just brings out the flavour of the cheese. It really doesn't do any more than that. The cayenne and the mustard enhances the flavour of your cheese. And then you put in your baking powder, a teaspoonful of baking powder, and just mix those together with a palette knife. Going to add 3/4 of my cheese. The remainder of the cheese will be sprinkled on top of the scones. So now we're going to coat each of those strands of cheese with some flour to keep them separated. Add the apple. Coat that with flour. Then we're going to get our milk and our egg, and we're going to crack the egg, turn it over, open the egg shell up, and the egg will go into your jug. Just make sure that you wash your hands after you've broken your egg. Beat your egg and milk together and dip your mixture in with your dry ingredients. Now at this stage we are not going to handle the scone mix. We do not want to develop the gluten in the flour because we want a crumbly mix. So we do not want it to have the stretchiness that you would get if you developed your gluten. So we're just going to bring all that together, just pressing it together with the palette knife. We do not want the mixture to be too wet, but we also don't want it to be too dry. If it's dry, it's going to be a very dry, crumbly scone. Now that's come together nicely. That's all mixed together, sticky, but not too sticky, and it's not dry. We're going to then sprinkle the surface of the worktop with some flour. Tip your scone mix out onto the tabletop. And then we're just going to bring it together gently, just to make it nice and smooth on the surface. Now here you don't need to use a rolling pin, you just need to press it down. And that's about how thick you want it, so about 1.5 centimetres. You can use cutters, commercially bought cutters. If you don't have cutters, don't worry. You could always use a glass as a cutter or a cup. So I'm going to use a plain cutter. You're going to press down, don't twist, and lift up. And pop that onto my greased baking tray. And you do this until all of your mixture has been used. Then bring that mixture together, just very gently. Give it a little knead, bring it together, press it down, and we'll be able to cut out another couple of scones. Bring that last bit of mixture together. And the easiest way here is just pop that inside your ring, press that down, push it out, turn it over. And there you have your cheese and apple scones. Now these are going to be brushed with the remaining egg and milk from your jug. Just a drop that will dribble back down from when you poured it into your bowl. You don't need to have any more because there'll be enough in your jug. And what this does, it just gives your scones a glaze, but it also acts as the glue for your cheese to go on. So here we have our remaining cheese. And we just put a small amount on the top of each one of the scones. Any cheese that falls on the baking tray, just pick it up and pop it back on the scone, because we don't want the cheese burning on the tray. And they are ready to go into the oven. Now they'll go into the oven for between 12 and 15 minutes. Wipe this part of the tray towards you using oven gloves. Now the oven is on 180, which is gas mark 5, and that's going to cook for 12 to 15 minutes.